Okay, it's 10 o'clock. The Delaware County Commissioner meeting for August 26th is back in session. And I ask the clerk to read the resolution.
Resolution number 21-788, public hearing for consideration of the Kingston Township Watershed number 2017-2 drainage improvement petition filed by Kathy McGee and others.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 21-788. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 21-789, in the matter of approving for a specific occurrence a suspension of Rule 3 speaker registration, Rule 4 limitations, and Rule 7 public comment procedure from the rules governing the public comment before the Board of County Commissioners of Delaware County, Ohio.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 21-789. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Welcome, everyone. I'm going to read kind of the ground rules that we'll be under today, so we're all on the same page. So if you'll bear with me for just a couple minutes. So welcome to the first hearing for the consideration of the Kingston number 2017-2 drainage improvement petition. Sign-in sheet's been circulating, or perhaps you signed it when you came into the room. Please sign it. We will hear a report from the county engineer and soil and water today. We'll ask for any questions from the board at that point. And those speaking for or against the petition must be either an owner, as defined in section 6131-01 of the revised code, or an attorney speaking on behalf of an owner. There's no exceptions to that. Hear from all those landowners who are in favor of the petition will be first, and then we'll hear from any of the landowners who may be opposed to the petition. And during the testimony, you'll be asked to take an oath, and we'll continue back and forth. If new information comes up or additional people need to speak or wish to speak, we'll allow that. We'll take questions from the board, and after listening to testimony and the report of the engineer, the board will decide whether to grant the prayer petition or dismiss the petition. The board considers the following in their decision: whether the board hereby finds that the proposed improvement is necessary, that it will be conducive to the public welfare. The board also finds that it is reasonably certain that the cost of the proposed improvements will be less than the benefits derived. If the board grants the prayer of the petition, the Delaware County Engineer will proceed with preparation of plans, reports, and individual schedules of assessments for the project. When plans are complete, a final hearing will be set. Notification of the hearing will be given to the landowners, and the board will then consider the project. With that, I will turn it over to Soil and Water. Brett Bacon.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brett Bacon, Delaware Soil and Water Conservation District. I will read the first hearing report into the record. First hearing report, Kingston number 2017-2 Watershed drainage petition per ORC 6131, August 26, 2021. This report has been prepared for the preliminary hearing on a drainage improvement petition filed by Kathy McGee and others on March 17, 2021. The original petition has been signed by 9 individuals representing 6 of the 26 parcels in the watershed. The general location and course of the requested improvements are quoted from the petition as follows. In Delaware County, Ohio, Kingston Township, within the Kingston Township Watershed number 2017-2, watershed, and generally following but not limited to the course and termination of existing improvements on the south side of Todd Street Road. The following is the nature of the work petitioned as quoted from the petition. To improve the drainage, both surface and subsurface, to a sufficient indirect outlet. This could include replacing, repairing, or altering the existing surroundings and or creating new surface and subsurface drainage ditches, culverts, mains, or laterals as necessary. The work requested by this petition includes the area to the south of Todd Street Road in anticipation of additional water being forced upon this area via the installation of a culvert by the township. Petition process. The petition has been submitted according to Section 6131 of the Ohio Revised Code, or ORC, which authorizes the Board of Commissioners to act on behalf of benefited property owners to make drainage improvements. If the Board of Commissioners decides to proceed with the project, the costs related to the improvements and the development of plans, reports, and schedules are assessed to the landowners in the watershed according to the benefit received to their watershed acreage. These special assessments will be added to the property taxes for each property and can be spread over a maximum of a 15-year period. Property owners may also choose to pay their assessment in a lump sum payment prior to placement on their property taxes. Additionally, the improvements will be placed on the Delaware County Drainage Maintenance Program in perpetuity per ORC Section 6137, and the annual maintenance assessment will appear on property tax statements as a special assessment in the same manner as the construction assessments. These annual maintenance assessments are generally in the range of 2 to 5% of the construction assessment. It should be noted that property owners are only assessed for those improvements that are located downstream from their properties. No property is assessed for improvements located upstream. The public agencies that own rights-of-way for public roads and other public lands are also assessed for both construction and maintenance costs in the same manner as private property owners. The decision to approve a petition project is a three-step process. First, a viewing of the proposed improvement is conducted for the commissioners to familiarize themselves with the watershed and general conditions. The commissioners conducted the viewing for this project by drone video on June 15, 2021. Next, a preliminary hearing is held to consider the initial feasibility of the proposal. It is this preliminary first hearing that is before us today. If this petition is approved, a final hearing will be conducted to further consider this petition. At that time, final details such as engineering plans and specifications, cost estimates, and a proposed schedule of assessments will be known. Existing conditions. The Delaware Soil and Water Conservation District and Delaware County Engineers Office have made the following observations of the watershed using on-site evaluation and a review of available historic records, aerial photography, topographic mapping, and soils mapping. The Kingston number 2017-2 watershed is approximately 66 acres. The predominant land use within the watershed is currently rural residential. There are also areas of agricultural and road right-of-way. The drainage system does not appear to be functioning at or near optimum capacity due to a lack of comprehensive maintenance and the generally deteriorated condition of the infrastructure. There is currently no road culvert which would allow surface drainage to pass through Todd Street Road, although the Kingston Township trustees have indicated their intentions to install a culvert in this location. Water currently collects on the north side of the road and either outlets into the existing subsurface drain or it flows into the adjacent Rybov number 620 watershed through the road ditch. The subsurface drain system appears to have significant blockages, as observed by stagnant water in an inspection port on the north side of Todd Street Road. There is a shallow drainage ditch along the common access drive for the Il Trovatore subdivision on the south side of Todd Street Road, but it does not appear to have the depth and capacity to most efficiently serve as an outlet for a new road culvert. These conditions are all indicators of an aged, overburdened, and unmaintained drainage infrastructure. While the existing drainage system still provides some degree of drainage benefit, it does not appear to function as a good and sufficient outlet. Estimate of cost factors favorable, unfavorable, benefit versus cost. ORC 6131 requires the county engineer to state in a report factors favorable and unfavorable to a proposed project, estimate the cost of the project, and state an opinion as to whether the benefits of the project exceed the cost. The following information is presented for your consideration. Construction estimate. The proposed project would include the following basic elements: open channel excavation, the installation of rock line channel, subsurface drain installation, drive culverts, and seeding and mulching of disturbed areas. Construction, $46,058.10. Drainage maintenance, ORC 6137, first year startup, 5% of the construction estimate, $2,302.91. Project administration, survey and engineering, 10% of construction estimate, $4,605.81. Total project estimate, $52,966.82. Notes. It is important to understand that the above estimates are preliminary and made in the absence of a current examination of the project area. The above estimate does not contain a contingency amount. The amount of necessary contingency would be evaluated as part of the survey and engineering design of the project and added to the estimate presented at the final hearing. Contingency cost is typically estimated at 15 to 20% of the final construction estimate. Should the project fail to be approved at the final hearing, the benefiting landowners, as defined by ORC 6131, may still be responsible for the cost of project administration, survey, and engineering design. Assessments. If the project moves forward to the second hearing, the Ohio Revised Code instructs the county engineer to calculate the assessments to individual property owners based on the benefits received from the improvements for the various properties in the watershed. ORC 6131 states that, quote, uplands that have been removed from their natural state by deforestation, cultivation, artificial drainage, urban development, or other man-made causes shall be considered as benefited by an improvement required to dispose of the accelerated flow of water from the uplands. Benefits are further defined by the ORC as elimination or reduction of damage from flood, removal of water conditions that jeopardize public health, safety, or welfare, and increased value of land resulting from the improvement. Individual parcel assessments are not calculated for the preliminary hearing and are only calculated if the petition moves forward to a second or final hearing. Factors favorable, unfavorable. Factors favorable to the improvement: improved surface and subsurface drainage in the watershed, improved outlet for subsurface drainage components of household sewage treatment systems and for residential drainage systems, reduction of future deterioration of surface and subsurface drainage infrastructure, annual inspections, maintenance, and protection of the improvement in perpetuity. Factors unfavorable to the improvement: temporary land use disruption during construction. Cost of construction and maintenance may be a burden to some landowners. Removal of existing trees and brush in the improvement area. Benefits versus cost. Assessments for property within the watershed are calculated based on the benefits derived. A publication by the Ohio State University Extension titled Return to Farm Drainage details several studies conducted by Ohio State researchers on the effects of drainage on crop yields. The studies show that fields with good drainage will produce higher yields than fields that have poor drainage. A recently completed 25-year study showed that subsurface drainage increased corn yields by 24% to 39% and increased soybean yields by 13% to 46%. The same study also analyzed the return on investment for installing subsurface drainage in a field. It found that for corn, $4 is returned for every $1 invested, and for soybeans, $3 is returned for every $1 invested. To state it generally, the benefits of drainage will equal the increased yield multiplied by the market price. The increased value or benefit for residential properties is much more subjective and difficult to quantify. For residential properties, the lack of an adequate drainage outlet can negatively impact the condition of household sewage treatment systems, potentially limiting the value of the home for resale. Should the existing system fail, the cost to perform repairs or construct an alternate sewage treatment system can range from thousands to tens of thousands of dollars. It would also be reasonable to consider the cost of environmental degradation due to residential sewage treatment systems that may not be functioning properly. Other benefits that are commonly perceived as a result of drainage improvements focus on quality of life and positive neighborhood perception. Communities that have planned and maintained stormwater drainage infrastructures generally have higher resale values than those communities that are known to have a history of drainage problems or flooding. Conclusions. Based on all of the information gathered and generated for this project, I believe this project is technically feasible and would adequately serve the project area's drainage needs. However, the testimony brought to the board by the landowners as to whether the benefits of this project exceed the costs should be given significant consideration in the decision to move forward with this project. Should the current petition be approved to proceed to a final hearing, the petition bond will be returned and detailed plans, specifications, estimated costs, and a schedule of assessments would be prepared. Additionally, a benefit versus cost analysis will also be performed to further determine the feasibility of advancing this proposed project.
Thank you, Brett. Any questions from fellow board members?
Yeah, Brett, just a couple things. The backup on the north side would cause problems on the south side once the culvert is in.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, the township is proposing to put in a culvert, which will increase the flow of water to the south side of Todd. And that's what's precipitating the petition to improve the south side.
Correct. In my opinion, yes,
Yeah,
I think that's
yeah.
why the petition's been filed.
Okay. But all parcels within the watershed would participate in the assessments.
Yes, per the ORC, any land that would drain through or use the improvement would be assessed or have benefit of the project.
Now, if the township didn't go forward with the culvert, would this be necessary?
I can't answer what liability the township might have. I think that's a legal question for not installing the culvert. I think we've identified that this is the prevailing low ground. Typically, road authorities would install a culvert or some conveyance for the drainage to get through the road. Essentially, the road would be acting as a dam in this case. Mm-hmm. If, obviously, there is another project that is still in process, if this project were to not occur and the lands on the north side continue to drain into that Ryboff 620 watershed, should that project proceed to construction, we could be faced with a situation where we might have to do an equalization, as we have talked about in the past, of those lands once once lands that were not originally assessed, and those lands are not currently proposed to be assessed for the Ryboff project because of the township's indication that they will be installing the culvert. If we were to find at some future date that those lands are being assessed or are benefiting from a potential project in the Ryboff watershed, then we would be required to, well, let's say, bring them in, simply put, to that project.
Okay, so you aren't, I mean, how firm is the Kingston commitment to put that culvert in?
I can't answer
Not
that.
sure.
I think Doug, would you
Oh, there's Doug.
Doug Riedel from the county engineer has been working directly with the township. I think he could
Okay.
speak to that.
Thank you, Brett. Doug Riedel from the Delaware County Engineers Office. The Kingston Township trustees have committed to installing a culvert at the location that we've discussed here, that Brett's outlined. They passed or signed an estimate for our crews to install that culvert. The timing of when that would be done was left undetermined at this point based on the decisions made regarding this proposed potential ditch petition project.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Is there a belief or a need that this culvert should be installed before the second hearing, or does that matter?
Gary, it wouldn't matter in our opinion. It's just, you know, the township didn't want to move forward because they wanted to see the status of this petition, because it would affect, you know, how they would address grading around the culvert and trying to accommodate both the upstream and the downstream area.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Doug.
Yeah, thanks, Doug.
Thank you, Brett. Okay, with that, we will move to testimony, and again, we'll first hear from any of you who are in favor of the petition. I will ask you to come forward, give your name, your address, and your lot number, which helps us identify the location, and I will swear you in. So, is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of the petition? If you'd come, please, come forward. So your name, address, and lot number, please.
Good morning. My name is Kathy McGee. I live at 9232 Todd Street Road, and I've lived there for 8.5 years. I believe my lot number is 6.
Number six?
Yes.
Okay. May I swear you in? Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I certainly do.
Proceed.
First of all, I'm nervous, so please bear with me.
Well, you know, I'm gonna, you're first, so I can understand why you might be a little nervous. No reason to be nervous.
Thank you. And I want to thank you for allowing us time this morning to discuss the issue. And I want you to know that it's our hope that we find a resolution for everyone, because we are neighbors. If I could, yeah, thank you for putting that up. So we're here today to talk about the water drainage issue, and we're looking to resolve the problem and not just move it, you know, from one place to another. We are part of the petition from 2018 that Dave Smith submitted. That petition was broken into 2 sections, and they called it the north section and the south section. So just for ease of speaking, we'll call it the north and the south. In that petition, it was required for the south section to be approved before the north section would even be considered, because it was seen that improvements needed to be made. It was required that improvements needed to be made on the south before the north could even be considered to bring that water to the south side. So now with the installation of the culvert, that will naturally bring that water to us, and that's why we're seeking for the south section to be repetitioned or be considered again for those improvements. So our ask today is we are requesting assistance to bring the ditch area south of Todd Street Road to a sufficient state to accept the additional water from the culvert installation and take that water to a direct and adequate final outlet, which would be the creek. So here's kind of an overview of what we're looking at, just so that everybody understands. I know it's difficult. If you don't live there, you don't exactly know, what everything looks like. So you can see the watershed. The majority of it is to the north. The part to the south is what needs the improvement. What's circled in red, excuse me, what's circled in red is where the culvert will be installed. The red line shows the jurisdiction of the township. So the township would have jurisdiction to basically my driveway. And that's where the water feasibly would stop there. Ideally, we would like for that water to be taken down that ditch, all the way south, come over to the south ditch, and all the way down to that tree line where the creek is. That would resolve, that would take it to a sufficient outlet if we could get it to the creek. You saw pictures of at the viewing on June 15th of the drone footage. You saw where the drone flew from the top of the CAD, or the Common Access Drive, down to the bottom. That was a nice summer sunny day. Let me show you what it looks like, that blue area that's circled. This is what that looks like when it's not a sunny day. This is a picture looking out my window. You see that water to the north. If you can advance again. All of that water will be funneled to a culvert at the bottom of that far right arrow, and it would come down that drainage ditch, which isn't capable of holding that water. So if you go to the next one, you can see the drainage ditch here again where the township jurisdiction ends, and again, it's basically at my driveway. So my home would be first impacted. If you go to the next one, this is how close my home is to that drainage ditch. And I think we can all imagine what will happen if and when that overflows. Thank you. We're a mere 3 car lengths from that ditch. Without proper improvements, I'm going to be the first one impacted. Following me, it's going to be my neighbors to the south. So this is looking south down the CAD. Right now, the ditch is set up. That far west ditch goes all the way to the bottom of the CAD, and then it joins the east ditch via a culvert there. And then the east ditch flows into the south ditch via another culvert, and that south ditch, which is where the arrow is pointing, takes the water back to the creek. With the water that we receive now, you can see how full those ditches are, even with just rainwater on our side or on the south side of Todd Street. And sometimes we can't hold that water, and this area floods. And when it does, this is what it can look like. This is what it does look like. And those homes are stranded. I can't tell you how many times I've seen Eric on one side and Chad on the other. Guess we're not going to work today. So of course, that causes concerns too. We have been speaking with the Kingston Township for months now, and I do have a letter of support from Bill Shively, which I am happy to provide to you. I also want you to know that we have pursued other options. The township had at one point suggested about turning the CAD over to the township. We found out that that wasn't permitted. We also discussed about a work agreement with the township, and then we found that that wasn't possible. We did obtain a quote in 2019 to contract the work to see what it would cost if we were to handle all of that cost ourselves. We have a quote, again, which I can show you, was $14,200, but that was only for a third of the project. It did not include maintenance in that option, which would mean that that cost would have to be revisited on an annual basis. And that work also would not resolve the issue. It did not take the water to the creek. So Today, we're seeking a comprehensive resolution to the problem. And we feel that passing this petition will allow for the water to be controlled and channeled to a sufficient outlet. And the petition being passed would also provide maintenance so that this problem doesn't have to be revisited on an ongoing basis. And I'd also like to point out some health and safety concerns that we have should this additional water come our way. There are curtain drains that are involved on that west ditch. I pointed it out in one of the previous pictures. This applies to homes both on and off of the common access drive. Of course, there's the flooding of basements, which causes mold and mildew and additional hardship on families that are already going through a pandemic at this time. We have safety concerns too. There will be more severe and more frequent flooding with the additional water. Of course, that brings up emergency situations, medical, fire, getting to and from work, unable to get necessities needed for health care. I know I have 2 grandchildren that visit me. They spend weekends with me every other weekend. 5 and 1 year old. I sometimes think, what if I had an emergency situation with them and I couldn't get out of my driveway? What would I do? And then I think of a single mother with foster children who live on our common access drive. She has a child with health issues, and they require medical deliveries every day. They require special transportation needs. With the additional water, what's going on in her mind? How is she going to take care of her family? So again, our ask today is we are requesting assistance to bring the ditch area south of Todd Street Road to a sufficient state in order to accept the additional water from the culvert installation and to take that water to a final, direct, adequate outlet resolving the issue. And we need your help. We ask you now, will you help us?
Ms. McGee, I do have one question. The ditch that runs parallel to your garage, does that dry up or does it stay water in there pretty much year round? In one of the photos you showed a ditch.
There's not water in there constantly that
Okay.
I
Just curious if water's.
it all depends on the rain and the season. Sometimes it's fairly dry, other times it's at that level. It all depends on the weather.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Anyone else
Thank you
would,
very much.
anyone else would like to speak in favor of the petition? Please come forward. Name, address, and lot number, please.
Mike Anderson, 9180 Todd Street Road, and I was right next to Kathy. I think I'm number 4, lot number 4.
If you raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Proceed.
My wife and I have lived there, it'll be 20 years this December, 21. So we moved in December of 2001. There's been a water problem since we've lived there, on the north side, the south side. We were always told at one time that the CAD and things are an issue because of this type of drainage. Now, I don't actually live on the CAD, but our problem is, too, is what Kathy was saying, is that water would come across the road. It's not going to make it down there. It's going to back up. Once it backs up, it's going to flood her front yard, my front yard. It's going to jump that watershed that everybody's been talking about anyways. It's not going to stay in that water. It's not going to stay there. The issue we have, too, is before Kathy moved in, I think Kathy said she was there 8 years approximately. The prior neighbor that lived there, when he put his house up for sale, in order to get his, I want to say the bank to approve it or somebody to sign off, he had to fix that ditch that's beyond the access drive, the main ditch that runs beyond the access drive ditch into the creek. He approached us, it cost him $5,000, if I remember correctly. So he was approaching his neighbors, asking for us to help, and we did help. That was before Kathy moved in. That was before, maybe it was the Board of Health, somebody had to approve it. That's what he had to do. So when Brett was reading about property values and that type of thing, my wife and I are getting ready to sell, probably next spring. Am I going to have to pay $5,000 or $10,000? That was 8, 9 years ago. Who knows what it is now? In order to get that fixed again, out of my pocket, in order to get my house approved. That I don't know. I'm anticipating that. I'm anticipating that because nothing's ever done. It's not done. We need this. When we talk about, and that's just the current water. When we talk about this additional water coming across, everyone knows that, yeah, we can see what happens, or if this water comes across, maybe it'll drain. But it only takes one time to flood your basement, and then it's thousands of dollars in costs. So that's what we don't want to happen. We don't want this to be set up as a wait-and-see type of thing. So the township builds that culvert underneath the road, all that water comes across, no place to go, backs up the culvert, or the drainage, the curtain drains from everybody that lives in that area, backs up your septics, and then all of a sudden you have big issues. We can't have that water come streaming down through there. We can't handle it. As you can see by your pictures, we have trouble handling the water that we have now. Actually, I have seen my neighbor's properties behind us be completely surrounded by water. And you'll actually see debris floating down through there. We don't have pictures of that, but I've actually seen and you go out there and there's debris floating. I agree that there's a big water problem on the north side. There has been. But we don't want to take the problem from one area, flip it to the next area. And I'm not an engineer, and Brett, I'm not any of that, but what I was thinking is, okay, if it's not adequately built all the way down through there, what's to stop that water from backing back up on the north side? Because it can't get through. I don't know. But just as a layman, I'm thinking that can happen again. Or that water will try to travel the easiest route. It always does. So if it backs up, can't get underneath Kathy's smaller culvert, because the preliminary plans from the first petition were everybody was going to get bigger culverts to accept the water coming through. And if it can't get through her smaller, then it backs up. And once it gets in, like I said, if it floods, then it's in your house. And then it's too late. So that's why we're really pushing to get this to be taken care of. And again, because of the property values, if you have to go and resell your house, plus I've had to replace at least 2 sump pumps because of the water issue. Now that's minimal charge, but I know the cost that we would be facing when we get ready to put our house up for sale, if they come out and they say it's not passable, like my previous neighbor before Kathy moved into her house. And I don't even set on the CAD, but my curtain drain drains into that.
Mr. Anderson, did the $5,000 your neighbor spent, did it fix his problem or not? It allowed him to get the house sold, but did it fix the problem?
Well, it helped. It helped because it cleaned out that trees and grass and stuff that was growing in there. So it allowed whoever had to approve it, they approved and he sold his house. But then they also, when they took the dirt, they didn't take the dirt away, and I understand that's a very high cost. What they did was the guy just piled it up on the sides. And the neighbors that have it, I know we have one neighbor here that lives along that. They just took the dirt out, piled it up. They didn't do any improvements, like put in anything, and then the maintenance is not done. So you're looking at doing that all the time. That's the big thing too. We want maintenance to be done in case something happens, then we're not pitting. When we looked into the private part, then if something goes wrong, we're pitting neighbor against neighbor. And then we have to collect the money and that type of thing, so. Yeah, I think it satisfied whoever had to sign off. That's all I know. And I don't really had to pay additional money. I helped him out because I got a benefit from it. But again, that just was a temporary fix. Sold his house.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to, got hands going up everywhere. The gentleman in blue, I think, had his hand up first, so.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Chad Dinowitz. My address is 9236 Todd Street Road, and I am lot, I believe, 13.
Lucky 13.
Yes.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Proceed.
I've lived in my house now for about 17 years, and the situation with the water has gotten worse. I know that Ms. McGee was able to provide some pictures, and it's hard to grasp what the water is like. I'm at the back of the common driveway, and there's 3 driveways that merge together to go out the common driveway. And I've been out there before where it was more than knee deep. So getting in and out really wasn't much of an option. And as she said, there's been days we haven't been able to go to work. There's been times I've had to have my daughter park her car up on the street and then wade back to get to the house. It does seem like it's happening more and more. And as Mike said, there's times where our entire yards are flooded. And it's not just a little bit of water. You can actually see the ripples as the water is flowing across. And I've seen, for lack of better words, rapids or whitecaps around my kid's swing set as it flows through. And then we have to go out afterwards before we can mow and clean up all the debris that's washed into the yard. Everything from sticks to corn stalks are all over the yard. And we've found other debris and trash. And there are times where, like I say, the house is completely surrounded. So even the backyard, the front yard, both side yards, both have standing water, up to about 1 foot deep. Not as deep as it is in the driveway, but around the house, it gets about 1 foot deep. And sometimes it's the middle of the night. So we're always worried when we leave and it's raining, what's it like at home? Like everyone else, I've gone through multiple sump pumps since we've been there. I currently have 2, and there's still times when we get heavy rain, I have to take the pump off of the swimming pool to help keep the basement dry, and it has flooded on us a couple of times because we weren't home. So again, that's, our fear is when we're not home and if it's raining, what's our basement like? We also, if it's raining at night and we are home, we don't sleep because we're listening for that alarm to go off to tell us that the sump pump pool is overfilling again. So we are very much in favor of this. You brought up earlier the question about the culvert. If that's not done, does this project still need to be done? I believe it does because we're already experiencing this issue. The culvert is just going to add to an already existing issue that has cost all of us a lot of money, and obviously all the concerns that Kathy had in her PowerPoint about safety and general health in the area. There are multiple septic systems that go underwater whenever this floods. Mine, Eric's, Beth's, all of them in that area. Out where our septic system is, there can be up to 1 foot of water standing on top of it. So that's obviously soaking through and transferring back and forth. So there's multiple issues in that area. And
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
all right, thank you very much.
The gentleman back there to the right, I believe, had his hand before you did, and I'll call on you. Okay? Yeah, I think it's you, sir.
Good morning. Eric Motter, 9164 Todd Street Road, and I am 18 on the small edge over there. So wanted to give you guys a different viewpoint because I don't live on the CAD. Oh, sorry.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Now you can proceed.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Wanted to give you a different viewpoint because I don't live on the CAD. Chad just actually mentioned our property. We live right next to Chad. And so where I'm impacted is those curtain drains and our septic line. So as the rain comes across, we're not able to sufficiently be able to get rid of the water. We actually have a lift station inside our yard that picks up the water, pushes it across Mike's backyard, then across Chad's front yard. And so if that ditch is backed up, we're not able to get rid of that water. It just pools inside our front yard. And much as Chad mentioned, it pools on top of our septic field. Over the last few years, it has gotten considerably worse. We are seeing deterioration and erosion in our front yard, especially over top of our septic lines. That is a health concern for us as we have 2 young kids, and just getting rid of that water, being able to push it forward. So we are at complete agreement and ask for help here to be able to complete this project. Additionally, I'll add one other piece. As that water backs up in the ditch and then comes across, you've heard multiple testimonies that it comes across the backyard of my property actually, and it actually jumps watersheds into the Rybov watershed. The back corner of my property, you'll see back in that back far corner, is part of the Rybov watershed. And so you also have an issue now where you have water jumping watersheds, which I'm pretty sure it's kind of a no-no, right? But appreciate you guys listening to us today and being a part of it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's your turn.
My name is Bethany Thurston.
Could you repeat your last name?
Thurston.
Thurston, thank you.
Address is 9240 Todd Street Road, and I am Lot 12.
Very well. I swear you in. Your right hand.
Oh,
I've never had to do that before.
I know. I would have missed it.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Proceed.
Okay. I am the party that is a foster parent. I actually have 2 children who are medically fragile in my home. One goes to day-hab every day, and the bus sometimes has trouble getting in, and so he doesn't get to go. He is profoundly autistic and nonverbal, and if he doesn't get to go, he stays home and has temper tantrums, bangs his head on the floor, gets very upset, and can act out pretty bad. The other, I call them children, they're actually adults now. The other one I adopted, Levi is my son, and he's a quadriplegic. He is on a respirator, and the air quality is very important. And my basement, when the house was built, the basement floor was spurting water through the bottom while the concrete was setting. And so their answer to fixing it was to put 4 more inches of concrete on that section. So my basement floor is cracking across. I have 3 sump pumps, 3 backup sump pumps, and I still flood up to 3 feet, sometimes 4. My basement floods at least 4 times a year, sometimes more, depending on how much rain we've had. I have to keep fans going continuously in the basement to try and prevent mold buildup. And so this is also a hazard. And I do have some pictures here that I can pass around. I'll bring it up to you first. They're from my house.
That's fine, go ahead, Mary Beth.
And my house is down the center, so you can see it from the opposite direction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
These are all the same? These are all 3 the same, correct?
The same picture? There should be
Thank you.
different ones. it all. Okay. Oh, okay, sorry. Anyway, I'm definitely for this because I'm now on my third insurance company out of 19 years of living there. I have tried to get my insurance to pay to fix the basement after a flooding, and I've been dropped by 2 companies so far. There's 2 different kinds of flood insurance, and you have to get special types of actual extras in order to get this kind of flooding covered. And most insurance companies don't really want to cover it, so they charge extremely high premiums. My electric bill runs up to $700 a month just to cover the extra, my sump pumps run continuously, and then the extra fans, and then of course my son's electrical equipment for his respirator and things. So I could use to cut some of those costs drastically. And I have solar panels as well. So that's with solar panels. So, thank you.
Thank you so much.
This is unrelated. I just want to say thank you for being a foster parent. The foster parents in our county are special people, and unrelated to anything we're talking about today, we just want to say thank you.
They're a blessing, believe me.
Copy for the record. Okay, anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of the petition? Please come forward.
My name's Dave Smith, 9225 Todd Street Road, and number 2
Okay.
is my lot number.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Proceed.
All right, first of all, I am in favor of this. Anything that gets the water from the north side of the road to the south side and keeps it moving is fine by me. I've lived there 23 years at lot number 2 there. And if you look at that map and you start at the farm field there, and the driveway on that'd be the east side of where the house is starting, the farm fields stops there. Do you see a little light spot there? It's about a ½ inch long. You guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
That's poured concrete in that driveway. So all this water, I think there's 33 acres over on the farmland there that flows. I don't know how many exactly would flow through there, but generally that water starts there and it comes, I mean, millions of gallons are coming within minutes. I'm talking one time in a 10-minute period, the picture that Kathy showed that filled my entire front yard, that only took 10 minutes. So it's like a raging river. It's like a flash flood come down through there. I'm not saying with every rain, but I would probably say 20 to 30 times a year we get that. So all that water is going to be coming down through there. It's feet of water in my yard, but it's millions of gallons. But the reason the previous homeowner installed that concrete there, because his driveway was it comes off that farm field, funnels down to one point right there, and it comes across lot number 22 there, John Breckenridge, and just comes into our yard and, jumps Watershed there. So when they put this culvert in, the idea is all this water's coming down, it's gonna hit the ditch at the road, flow across to Kathy's, right there by Kathy's ditch, and then funnel all the way down to the creek. We've fought water for 23 years, and I just don't want to see the people on the south side of the road have to fight the water that's coming down. I mean, it's still flowing the right direction and going to the south, but they definitely need some improvements to make it so they're not, getting flooded out also. But it's a lot of water. I mean, you saw the pictures. It's millions and millions of gallons of water. I did have a couple questions, I guess, for Brett. I just wanted to know if the 46,058.10, does that include the townships?
Direct the questions to us.
Oh,
and then we-
Yeah.
If that, does that include the townships' cost in there to do the road improvements in the culvert, number one? And then number two, the cost of the 4605.81, would that cost, since we did the ditch petition that wasn't successful in 2019, they did do engineering at that time, would that reduce that to zero or reduce it in some way, since the engineering was already done for this project and surveying and all that? So those are the two questions I have
We'll have Brett come forward.
for you to go through, Brett, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The cost estimate as presented in the hearing report would just be the work that would be done as part of the ditch petition. The cost for the culvert would be borne by the township and is not being presented at this point as part of the ditch petition or this petition report. I'm sorry, Dave, I completely blanked on that. Oh, the engineering. Certainly, I'll say in contradiction to a normal petition, we obviously have already prepared engineering plans for that. We present the engineering cost as a percentage at this stage of a project. I will say we have lowered that percentage in our estimate because of a significant amount of work already being done. There are still administrative tasks that would need to be done. We will still need to do, I'll say, some tweaking or re-examination of those engineering plans. We need to make sure that nothing has changed in the watershed since the last go-around. And then there's still the administrative part of preparing the final hearing report, the schedule of assessments, all that documentation and information that would go along with that, as well as the board's costs and your certified mailings and things like that. So, yes, I would say the engineering costs will be much reduced from what they were previously, but there obviously would still be some cost there.
Commissioner, I think you're-
Yeah, I think maybe part of the question was Kingston Township owns that road, and they would be assessed a portion of the costs.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
As any other
Yes.
parcel owner. So
Kingston Township is a landowner in the watershed. They would have a calculated schedule of assessment for the road's benefit of the work that could potentially be done as part of this project. The actual culvert in any work within the right-of-way or directly benefiting the right-of-way would be borne by the
I
township
do believe
solely.
Mr. Smith's question was, do they have costs beyond the culvert? And that's been answered, so.
Did I answer it?
There, well, yeah, there, from whatever easement or right of way to right, you know, from both north and south side of the road.
Okay.
There, I mean, it's pictured in
Yeah, our standard practice is road or work within and directly benefiting the right-of-way, that those costs are borne by the road authority, whoever owns the road.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
You have somebody else?
Yeah, for Brett also, like,
Well,
On the
Why don't you
come to the mic and
back
ask the
up?
question.
on the 2019 petition, I believe the estimated cost for the township's portion of it, I'm just giving a round number here, $30,000, okay? So that's what I was wondering, is that built into this 46,000?
No.
No.
Because he's not at the mic, the answer was no. I'll just
Yeah.
repeat it. Okay.
No, this would the estimate as presented is just for the work outside of the right-of-way.
Very good.
One more for Brett.
Well,
Will anything subsurface or surface be done on the north side of the road outside of the right-of-way?
is that your last question?
Yeah.
Okay, I just make sure we get them all, okay.
The estimate as it's designed right now would examine or pick up the tile that's on the north side of the right-of-way. I don't exactly know where yet. That would be part of what we would do if the board approves the petition at this point. But that is built into the estimate to make sure that the tile can flow from north to south.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's one thing. I mean, I don't know why Kingston Township, I don't know if they're represented here or if they're going to speak, but I don't know why they're not here. I know we've been going round and round about getting the
Let's
culvert
stick
in.
to the, let's stick to this topic.
Yeah, that's fine, but if the township does not do the culvert properly and does not do the ditches to go to the culvert, all of our north side water will still jump Watershed, and we should not be on this petition. This
I think
petition
the
was
testimony I
not,
heard was that is the expectation, and we
Yes.
certainly will have that
I just,
conversation if we were to go to a second hearing.
I just wanted to say it out loud so everybody could hear it. If they don't do their job, or if, you know, the engineering here isn't correct, if everything doesn't go to that culvert and go across, we're still gonna jump Watershed on the north side of the building. And I know that like soil and conservation refers to our water problem as, our rains as 10-year storms, but we get 20 to 30 10-year storms a year, so it, on a light rain, no big deal. But if it rains all day, you're getting exactly what Kathy had on the thing, and you're getting millions of gallons going to the south.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of the petition? One last time, is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of the petition? Okay, if not, we will transition to anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the petition. Please come forward. Your name, address, and what, please.
Dale Edwards,
Say-
93,
Sorry again, sir.
Dale Edwards, 9323 Todd Street Road. I would be parcel 7.
Raise your right hand, sir. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Proceed.
I'll try and keep it short here. I've got a few points that I'd just like to go through here. The analysis and the costing was already completed back in 2019. We've already paid for this to be accomplished once. When will this issue finally be closed? The 2019 hearings already found that the cost of this project outweighed the perceived benefit. The township and petitioners were aware of the previous findings that this project does not have a positive return on the investment when they decided to proceed with this culvert project. Is it intended for this process to rehash this issue and pay for a new survey and a project plan over and over again? There have been no new benefits presented that would indicate that the previous decision from 2019 to be revisited. The culvert decision should not force the hand on this. This is not how the process was intended to work. There has been no significant construction in the last 20 years in this watershed, and the houses on this road will continue to sell just as fine as they have. This is not a no-harm project decision. At the minimum, I am looking for another $300 to $400 to fund a new plan on this. Because we were charged for the plan last time in 2019. We covered that cost. That's what I rambled through there for you. I did have a question regarding the cost change from 2019 from Brett Bacon. The South Side project appeared to cost $92,000. And this time we're looking at about $52,000, and I was concerned about whether this was the same plan we had back in 2019. What's changed, what hasn't changed, and do we expect it to balloon?
If you're finished, we'll have them come up.
Okay.
So,
And I believe that the large portion of what we were discussing back in 2019 for the cost-benefit analysis was the Atkins croplands. And the Atkins croplands would not be really affected by this drainage project. It's not improved. The drainage will still come from their upper lands into the rest of the project. That's really not going to be a financial benefit, and they were the ones that were going to bear the largest portion of the burden of this. I think it pretty much covers it.
thank you, sir. Brett, would you like to come respond to the question regarding the 2019 project?
This is a brand-new petition project, independent of what occurred previously, other than we obviously do have an engineering plan already developed. We looked at the request of the petition, which is what we're required to respond to. The estimate reflects our current, most up-to-date first hearing estimate to meet that request.
And I guess maybe another way, the request this time is a smaller construction project.
That's
And
correct.
what's
The scope of the project has been decreased by the folks that signed the petition. We have, nobody on the north side of the road requested improvement this time, therefore, there's no improvements requested, or the parts of the project that were included to meet that request previously are no longer considered part of this project.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I think we have some clarification here, because I have this document from 2019 that shows the south side cost being $92,000 and the improvements on the north side being something on the order of $19,700. So I am looking at apples to apples here, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm confused as to why we're roughly half now. I mean, this is what I'm looking at here, is this.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
This is a first hearing. We don't have, at this stage, we don't have detailed engineering plans. We know we have a good ballpark view. The estimate that we presented at the first hearing included at the second hearing previously included the culvert. There were those costs involved. We evaluate this project as a new project. Nothing that happened before, other than we do have a good start on engineering plans, is relevant to this hearing.
Thank you.
That's all I have to contribute.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition to the petition? Please come forward. Your name?
Ryan Atkins. My address 263 County Road 218. Don't live on Todd Street, but I'm here on behalf of my grandmother for the Atkins farmland.
Are you an owner in that property?
I am not.
You're not allowed to speak. Sorry, sir. Yes, sir.
Mark Atkins, live 2870 County Road 15.
Number 15?
County Road 15. And I do own part of that farm on the Atkins, and my
The
grandmother.
one that he was referencing?
Yeah, and
Okay.
my grandmother owns.
You understand the reason he couldn't speak, because he doesn't have an ownership in it.
Well, he was
Anyway,
he was
that's-
here to speak for his grandmother.
Anyway,
so-
but that, I'm just,
I understand,
okay.
that's fine.
Okay. Well, let me swear you
Go on,
in.
man.
You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Proceed.
Well, on the farm field, it's not gonna do us any good. And I know that we spent a lot of extra money to pull our water, when we tiled that field, systematically tiled it. We took most of the water, or all the water we could, to the east and out that other open ditch, just to the east of where we're talking. Now, I feel for these people because I see their problem. I see it underwater, and the road acts like a dam because there's no culvert under the road to get the water on the north side away. But that's not going to help until they get on the south side, get it opened up down to the creek so that it can flow. I mean, if there's trees, and I think it's outletting into the creek going upstream instead of downstream, and I'm sure all the engineering's going to take care of that to get the outlet away, to get the water away. But as far as us putting more water to the south side on the north, we're not putting more water down there. We're getting no more water than what it's raining. So it's just running over the top and coming out the tile, and there's no outlet. And for the life of me, I don't know why there was never a culvert put under the road. But that's not gonna fix the problem. It's gonna help water get away on the north side by getting under the road and getting down to the creek. But they've got a big problem on the south side, and, it just needs opened up and the ditches fixed. And when them houses were put there and engineered, couldn't have been done right, or we wouldn't be having this problem for 20-some years or longer that the people's lived there. So they built in the floodplain, and however they was able to get that housing project going, I have no idea. but it wasn't very well engineered. Now, I don't feel like I'm adding to the problem any, but I sure am getting assessed awful hard for it because of our acres.
Thank you, sir.
So,
Thank you.
Brett, I do have a follow-up question, if you come forward. I don't want to get involved in the question with the water going to the east, but the question I do have, we're talking about his contribution, Mr. Anthony's, would be the water that contributed to the problem, as you do your evaluation, is that correct?
Yes, the watershed's based on, or the assessments, the watershed, the benefiting parcels are all based on surface runoff. Water leaves one property, travels through other properties, and eventually travels through a proposed improvement. The Ohio Revised Code is very specific in that those properties are considered as benefited from a project.
Just want to clarify what
Yep.
I thought I understood. Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition to the petition? One last time, is there anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition to the petition? Okay, I'll open it up to my fellow commissioners. Any comments, questions for Brett or anyone?
I don't have any at this point. The questions I've had have been answered as we've moved
Yeah.
along, so.
I have no questions, and I would ask that the clerk please read the resolution closing the public hearing.
Proceed.
Resolution number 21-790, in the matter of closing the public hearing for consideration of the Kingston Township Watershed number 2017-2 drainage improvement petition filed by Kathy McGee and others.
So move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion? Vote?
Vote on motion 21-790. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye. With that, the hearing is closed. Now, I'll entertain any suggestions from my fellow commissioners before we go from here.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I would ask our clerk to read the resolution in the matter of proceeding with the petition.
Resolution number 21-791, in the matter of proceeding with the petition for the Kingston Township Watershed number 2017-2 drainage improvement filed by Kathy McGee and others, and ordering the Delaware County engineer to proceed with preparation of reports, plans, and schedules for the proposed improvement.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Yes, I think the evidence we've received is overwhelming. The water is really bad, but we definitely need to go on. We can't leave it like this. We need to go on and have a second hearing so the engineers can actually provide more information. We'll have that second hearing and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, I'm in the same spot. I'm really curious to see what happens with the culvert that Kingston has committed to put in place. So I'll be, hopefully we'll have an update on that as we go to the final hearing, which will be months away. But anyway, again, I support. There is clearly a problem here, and it does need to be addressed. So.
Yeah, I have to agree. I thought the evidence testimony given today is overwhelming that we do have a problem. And the purpose of going from the first to second hearing is to get more information and determine exactly where we go. And with that, I'll ask you to read the vote.
Vote on motion 21-791. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye. With that, the hearing is done with the hearing. Thank you very much, and there will be a second hearing down the road, so you'll be informed when that occurs. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have additional business to
Yeah,
conduct, so.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
I believe we have need for executive session.
We do. Resolution number 21-792, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of appointment, employment, compensation of a public employee or public official for pending or imminent litigation.
So
So,
moved.
second.
Motion made by Commissioner Benton, second by Commissioner Lewis. Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 21-792. Mrs. Lewis?
Did you say Mrs.
Mrs. Lewis?
Oh, aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
With that, we are now in